Good evening. We begin tonight in Washington, where the federal government is just 9 days away from a potential shutdown. With the September 30th deadline to fund government operations rapidly approaching, Democratic leaders in Congress have formally requested a meeting with President Donald Trump. In a letter to the White House, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries stated they are ready to negotiate a bipartisan spending agreement. However, they have tied their cooperation to demands for changes in healthcare funding. In their message, the two leaders accused the president of moving to, quote, shut down the federal government because of the Republican desire to continue to gut the healthcare of the American people, end quote. This language is a clear strategic move, attempting to frame the potential shutdown as a Republican-led attack on healthcare. A government shutdown would mean the furlough of hundreds of thousands of federal workers and the suspension of many non-essential government services, from national park operations to the processing of passports. For their part, Republicans have argued that federal spending is out of control and that fiscal responsibility is paramount. The standoff echoes previous budget battles that have led to disruptive shutdowns, and public statements suggest compromise may be difficult. The Democratic leaders insist they are ready to work, but only on an agreement that addresses what they call the Republican healthcare crisis, leaving the next move to the White House. Meanwhile, the White House is also at the center of another major story today. This one involving the president's use of social media to publicly pressure the nation's top law enforcement officer. In a post on his Truth Social platform Saturday that was quickly deleted, President Trump demanded that Attorney General Pam Bondi prosecute a list of his long-standing political adversaries. The post specifically named former FBI Director James Comey, Democratic Senator Adam Schiff, and New York Attorney General Letitia James, all of whom have been involved in investigations or legal challenges targeting the president. He wrote, quote, "They're all guilty as hell," and criticized his own Attorney General as being, quote, "all talk, no action." The deleted message also addressed the recent departure of a U.S. attorney nominee in Virginia, with the president claiming, "I fired him." About an hour later, a second, more conciliatory post praised Bondi, but when speaking to reporters, President Trump reiterated his desire for swift action. He stated, quote, "We have to act fast. If they are guilty, they should be charged, and we have to do it now." The president also announced he would nominate attorney Lindsey Halligan to the post in Virginia. The episode highlights the president's willingness to publicly direct the Justice Department, a practice that has drawn criticism for potentially politicizing law enforcement. From the political battles in Washington, we turn to the ongoing and often contentious issue of immigration enforcement. Federal authorities have announced that a major operation in the Chicago area has resulted in the arrests of nearly 550 people in less than 2 weeks. The crackdown, dubbed Operation Midway Blitz, is being described by the Department of Homeland Security as an effort to target and remove dangerous criminals who are shielded by Illinois' sanctuary state policies. In a statement, DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said, "Every arrest is a testament to DHS and its law enforcement's dedication to enforcing the laws of our nation. We will not be deterred by sanctuary politicians." However, the large-scale enforcement action has drawn sharp criticism from state leadership. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker argues that such operations spread fear and distrust in immigrant communities. This clash highlights the core of the sanctuary debate. Federal officials contend that when local jails don't honor ICE detainers, it forces agents to conduct more dangerous at-large arrests, while sanctuary proponents maintain that entangling local police in federal immigration matters erodes the trust needed for community policing. They argue it can make victims or witnesses of crime afraid to come forward to any law enforcement for fear of deportation. The operation in Chicago is the latest flashpoint in this persistent divide between the federal government's enforcement-first approach and the policies of states and cities that have declared themselves sanctuaries. That same tension between federal and state authorities is escalating in California, where Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a new law directly targeting the tactics of federal immigration agents. The bill, signed on Saturday, makes it a misdemeanor for any law enforcement officer local, state, or federal, to wear a mask or other facial covering while on duty. The law includes exceptions for officers working undercover or in specific tactical situations. It also creates a civil penalty for officers who engage in misconduct, such as false arrest, while their face is covered. The bill was a direct response to recent immigration raids in Los Angeles, where federal ICE agents were seen wearing masks. In a fiery announcement, Governor Newsom taunted the agents, repeatedly asking, "What are you afraid of?" Federal officials, however, argue the masks are a necessary safety measure. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin noted that assaults against ICE officers have surged by 1,000%, and that agents wear masks to protect themselves and their families from retaliation. She called the law a political stunt that endangers personnel. It remains unclear how California will enforce this state law against federal agents, setting up a potential legal and jurisdictional conflict. Similar bills are reportedly being considered in several other states. Finally, we turn to a story that appears to be reaching a conclusion after years of national security debate. The White House has confirmed that a deal to bring the U.S. operations of the social media app TikTok under American ownership has been finalized. According to Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, the agreement ensures the United States will have control over the app's powerful recommendation algorithm, and that all U.S. user data will be secured and overseen by the American tech company Oracle. This development is the culmination of a process that began in 2024, when Congress passed a bipartisan bill giving TikTok's Chinese parent company, ByteDance, an ultimatum: either sell its U.S. operations or face a ban. The legislation was driven by fears that the Chinese government could compel ByteDance to hand over American user data or use the algorithm to spread propaganda. The confirmation of the deal came a day after President Trump announced he had spoken with Chinese leader Xi Jinping and declared that Beijing had approved the sale. The Chinese government's official statement was more reserved, saying only that companies were free to conduct commercial negotiations. The finalization of this deal marks a significant moment in the ongoing effort by the U.S. to mitigate national security risks posed by foreign-owned technology and sets a precedent for the future of the global internet.